All right. Welcome to the Actor's Guide to the Underworld podcast, where we talk about acting in Hollywood in a way people understand. I'm Hee Kan Song, and this is...
Rían Kelly, what's happening?
What's up, buddy? Follow us wherever you find your podcast at Actor's Guide Podcast. We're on all social media for fun clips during the week. Follow Actor's Guide Podcast. Leave us a review. Leave us a like. We got a new review last week. It was very...
That was a good one, wasn't it? I just saw that.
Yeah. Old friend... we reconnected through this podcast, so shout out.
Who did say that my voice sounded like ASMR, so I'm going to talk like this for the rest of the podcast.
Oh, there you go. That's your, yeah, you did get a shout
Welcome to the
out.
Actor's Guide to the End of the World.
On the episode today, this is episode number 50. We have a little look back at the past episodes, our favorite bits. We talk about things that we thought we really got right. We talk about things that we felt that we got wrong.
Yeah, we talk about goals in acting and in life and
bits that still resonate with us. So this is big episode number 50. I'll put in crowd applause sounds and away we go.
I didn't know what you were going to say there. Just
sit back and relax and enjoy the episode. And today's show is brought to you by... Tired of looking up at your romantic lead? Need a stepladder to kiss your romantic co-star? Tired of just being Danny DeVito in Twins and not Arnold Schwarzenegger in Twins?
give yourself a boost with Hollywood Heels insoles. You're going to go from Tom Cruise to Terry Crews. Now in Crocs.
This is a special week, everyone. This is episode 50.
The big
I didn't want to make a big deal about this, but I'm wearing buttons and a collar. I dressed up nice for this.
Oh, you should have told me, man. I was actually thinking of that. I was like, should I dress up for this episode? Do you know what, though? I have to say, I took inspiration from Brandon Finn. I mean, not obviously today, but yeah. Brandon Finn dressed up for our podcast, which was, I thought that was really cool. And that was a good, thought that was a good little reminder to just, you know, dress to impress.
I completely agree. And I actually think that's a thing. That wasn't by accident. Brandon Finn was dressed to the nines for our podcast. And I think when he does appearances, that's how he goes. So it is a good lesson learned. So this week I'm wearing a collar and buttons. Nice. I didn't want to draw attention to this, but I've been living out of a suitcase for 9 months. I do not have a lot of clothes. That being said, this is the debate is I have one good shirt and we have a few big guests coming up and I want to dress well for them.
He has three.
Yeah, exactly.
3 t-shirts.
Yeah. So this is a special episode. The past year, this is roughly a year. We just wanted to, celebrate on episode 50 because it's a nice round number, but I don't want to pat ourselves. This is not going to be a patting ourselves on the back for 40 minutes.
No, please.
But I will say our take on, namely AI, has been pretty good. I think we kind of jumped in with the Ben Affleck episode. That was almost a year ago. Ben Affleck came out with, very articulate, very clear points about what he thought AI was and where he thought AI was going. He said it was a tool. It was going to be very good for mundane tasks, but as far as replacing the artist, replacing the creator, it wasn't going to happen, at least not anytime soon, and he wasn't worried. Now, this is a whole year ago, so that's a long time considering all the things that we have seen. Here we are, a couple weeks after the announcement of Tilly, and we don't see anything substantive that Tilly is going to be winning any Oscars anytime soon. So,
should we have her on the podcast?
To be honest, that's not too far off. We could easily have her on the podcast. We didn't mention this. I don't know if you knew this. They turned off their comments. Tilly has turned off her comments on social media.
What do you mean, Tilly? Backlash. Oh, is there like a page?
I don't know. Oh yeah, 100%. So she was an Instagram, just like anyone else. Maybe some people actually thought she was real, but she had an Instagram, or she has an Instagram, just like any other, aspiring actor. And they had to turn off their comments.
Speaking of AI, to all the people who trust ChatGPT implicitly, I was just looking up the accuracy rate of it. It's not great. Like at times, it's pretty low. I know people who trust it for everything, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Yeah, because it has no interest in being right. It just aggregates information away. And this seems the most likely answer.
There you go. also this week, we're not going to dive into it, but Sora 2, whatever that is, it's just like basically this app that just pumps your face and your likeness in a bunch of crazy scenarios. We were wondering, what is the market for wanting to see yourself in a bunch of, whether it's a TV series, property, or whatnot? That's what Sora 2 is. Sora 2 is basically TikTok, where have you seen this?
No.
It's kind of incredible. I'm wondering what the market is. I absolutely will not use it. It will take your likeness and put it in a bunch of crazy, extravagant, wild, hilarious scenarios. You could put your friends in your Sora 2. You can put them all in fake scenarios and drag them all in your AI slop. And you could literally watch yourself repeatedly throughout the day, just going through this wormhole as if it's TikTok.
Do you know
and
what
it just
that
does it seamlessly.
Do you know what that seems like though? It's like, it seems like that's such a like a quick hit, like a quick dopamine hit. Like the actual longevity of that, I wouldn't imagine is great. Like, how much entertainment can you get from that? It's a real novelty kind of a thing. It's just a kind of, oh, what kind of shite is it going to throw out now? Okay, that's I can't imagine that's in any way sustainable.
I agree, but also, to be fair, it's like you are speaking from a very grounded, well-balanced person who does not go on TikTok, and I think that's the point, because we have hundreds of millions of people who actually actively are getting that dopamine hit in similar ways. They're not watching videos of themselves.
Well, but the other thing as well, I think it does, is like it smacks of like just further isolation. Like, if you're at home watching fake videos of yourself in imaginary situations, like, what are you doing? I mean, you don't learn anything from that. You're not interacting with anybody really.
That is a danger.
Well, yeah, because I have two nieces, and I look at them and I worry about that, because I'm like, one, already, the older one is so phone savvy and screen savvy, because that's just the world that she grew up in. She knows how to use a screen, and she's known since she was 2 or 3 years old. She was able to pick up on how you operate a screen, and I don't know. I'm so glad that I grew up in an era where that wasn't an issue.
Before we move on, this was supposed to be an easy, quick topic before we move on, and not to get too dark, but someone just mentioned recently, have you heard of the Gen Z stare? The Gen Z stare. You don't know what that is. That doesn't mean anything to you, right? Okay. So basically, when we have, in the working world at this point, I'm not saying us because we don't have corporate jobs, but a lot of other people are, you're forced. I know exactly, right? So, a lot of jobs there, you have boomers, you have millennials, and then you have Gen Z, which is, the one after millennials. Gen Z basically grew up with social media and a screen in their hand, and like you're saying. Anyway, so people are realizing this huge generation gap that we have, and a lot of times older people are having trouble interacting with Gen Z. And so one of the things that was talked about this interaction is the Gen Z stare. So essentially how people were describing, because I didn't know exactly what it was until we started talking about it. A lot of times Gen Z will just stare at you, and it's not rude or meant to be condescending. It wasn't meant to be anything. But the thing is according to how someone was explaining it to me, they're so used to getting taught and interacted with the screen that their facial gestures or indications weren't necessary to reciprocate, because they're learning from a screen.
Oh,
so
my God.
The point is when you're interacting, say for example, you're serving someone at the bar and you're giving someone good service, or if someone introduces you to a mutual friend and they just happen to be Gen Z, he's like, oh, hi, my name's Econ, da, da, da. And then you try to relate and you try to kind of engage, but in an open and vulnerable way. You try to match and mirror. Gen Z will just stare at you a lot of the times. It's not malicious. That's just their base level, because they're used to learning and interacting with a screen. And also, I'll take it another step further. When you're asking stuff from AI, you don't actually need to be that polite. You can say yes, and you can say please, and you can do all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, AI is going to give you whatever you want, and you don't have to say thank you or please. I think that's kind of like what we're getting at, that this is the next step. And should we be worried? I just realized you were frozen the entire time.
No, I was just practicing. That was my Gen Z stare. I was going to see how long I could play that out for.
You were literally frozen for a time. But yeah, there you go.
I'm going to see how long it takes you to notice. That's crazy. That's very unnerving. Kids, sometimes kids do that too. Like kids will stare at you. You know what I mean? When you're like, wow. You know, and you'd be like out in public and a kid will just stare at you because they've no like self-consciousness about, and you're like, oh, that's, it's kind of unnerving.
All right. Well, that was a fun and bright topic.
Yeah, that was a nice little laugh. Well, I was going to ask, what has been your favorite part of doing this podcast, or what have you personally learned, or what have you learned that sort of surprised you about it that you enjoy?
Okay. You know, it's one thing to speculate when we're getting ready to do it, and it's another thing to actually have done it, and you're like, oh, this actually is what it was like, or what happened.
Yeah, what were your expectations going in? Did you have expectations about what it was going to be like?
To be honest, no. And I think that helped me out a lot. You know, we're obviously not the first people to do a podcast, but you know, I want to say 50 feels like nothing, which is the crazy thing is 50 feels like we're just, and this is kind of like what I was expecting. I felt like 50 episodes we're just getting the hang of it. And I feel like we're actually getting the hang of it. The other thing I would say is, I don't want to say it actually was like therapy, but the actual doing of it was like, oh, this actually does a lot of good for me personally, being able to talk about things that I had on my mind. And that has nothing to do with the audience's reception of it. It doesn't, on a base level, me as a person is enjoying this and also finds it's beneficial as a person and as a human being, aside from being as an actor, aside from being your friend, just on a base level, expressing myself and being able to speak about it in a, safe environment. And also the fact that some people might enjoy it and get help out of it. I cared very little about this is going to make me feel good. I absolutely never thought about that at all or considered that.
Yeah. I like that. That's a great unexpected result. I think for me, similarly, I went in with zero expectations. I mean, I remember we talked about it when we had coffee that day, and it just seemed like, oh yeah, that might be a cool idea. And without really knowing what it was going to look like, it's been an enjoyable process learning it and learning kind of how it works. But by far, I think my favorite part of it, love having guests on. I really enjoy that. Learning about other people and chatting to other people, and that has been, I'm surprised at how much I really, really enjoy that. I love it. Not surprised that I enjoy it, but how much I enjoy it. It puts me in touch with people that I wouldn't maybe normally get to spend that much time talking to. You know what I mean? A dedicated, however long, hour and a half, 2 hours talking and finding out about them. I find that to be so enjoyable and enlightening, and it kind of opens up a whole new swath of people to talk to and parts of this industry to learn about, and talking to Kirsten and Patrick and Brandon and Shan, everybody we've had on, I've really enjoyed that process of it. And I like the fact that there's two of us sort of chatting to one person as well, because we both sort of bring something different. But that's been so enjoyable for me. I really feel
that's awesome.
Quite comfortable talking, I really feel at home doing that.
And we've been really fortunate. We have people that we, respond well to, but also are very articulate, great stories.
And Kevin Walsh's episode of the stories about football and his journey inside, all of that stuff is really interesting to me. One thing I do enjoy is when we talk about topics and I sort of discover something as we're talking about it that I didn't know was in there, that I didn't know was in my head. And I'm like, oh, that's how I actually think about that. And I don't know until it's coming out of my mouth. It's been a really enjoyable experience. I feel like it's put me in touch with the sort of wider community and the industry sort of at large that I would not have had the opportunity to do, or I just wouldn't have had the even idea to get that deep into it. So some of the union issues, some of the nuts and bolts of it, some of the industry news, the things that are going on, it kind of forces me to pay attention to things in a way that I really didn't before in any level of detail. And then I've had a lot of, we've had a lot of feedback, and I talk to my friends who listen to the podcast, and they'll bring up topics and they say, oh, I love that conversation about this, or I love that you brought this up. And that's really cool. Like that you would sort of have an impact on other people as well. So yeah, it's been a really, really gratifying experience so far.
A couple of those things, 50 episodes in, I've never done anything consistently like that. And it was really good practice for me as well to be like, hey, when it came down to it, the mindset was every week it's going to get out. That's it. There, I can fight it. I can complain about it all I want. And I have. No, I'm just joking around. But it's kind of like this great mindset. Every week we're like, this episode's going out.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like to entertain people, like, when you hear back and you get feedback and people are like, oh, I love this or I love that, like we're entertaining people in some ways as well. And that's really 100%. Cool to me, because I mean, that's what I love that, you know what I mean? That's what I love about, it's one of the things I love about acting, and I like entertaining people. I like making people think, I like making people laugh, so that's a really cool.
When we were talking about the guest interviews, I realized, we're busy. We have lives. Sometimes we lose touch with friends. Sometimes we don't have a chance to have a deep conversation. Maybe you can chat with someone and catch up with someone on coffee. But this is a opportunity where, hey, we can have a deep dive conversation. It doesn't matter if we knew the person for 10 years or not. It's a very special opportunity to be like, I got to know someone on a deeper level.
That's a great point, because I think you wouldn't ordinarily get to sit someone down and have a conversation with them for a couple of hours about their life experience and ask them in that way, because it's more of a natural conversation doesn't really follow the same path, you know what I mean? Unless you're like, hey, I want to learn more about you. But it's more of a two-way street. So I think the opportunity to get to know someone in that way is quite unique. I like the contrast of talking to someone I know and learning more about them in that way, but also then talking to people I've never met. Like, I didn't know Brandon. I'd never spoken to Brandon before we chatted, and I had a great conversation. I really enjoyed that and learning about it.
Just looking past at the last 50, are there any tidbits from guest interviews that stick out to you now? I'll start. We kind of do this when we do our little after party after the guest, but just because there was a recent interview, I'm still wrestling with the idea, Sean Sharma was talking about this idea that, to have a certain focus, let's say, for example, what is your goal as an actor? And you could easily say, well, I just want to work. Well, the analogy was, well, you go into the grocery store and you just say, I want to eat. Like, what aisle are you going to go to? What are you going to make? Are you going to make Italian, or are you going to make a salad? You know what I mean? So this idea of, kind of focusing your efforts, I realized that I was, with how I approached specifically acting, I just enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I enjoy doing drama. I could do comedy. Occasionally I might do a sketch or a goofy little thing, but maybe that's just really how I feel about acting. If I wanted to succeed, would it benefit myself for taking a lane? Or do I need to choose a lane with acting and a lot of the other pursuits that I have that I'm, doing online? That's just something that's been on my mind. It's just that idea.
That stood out to me as well. And I loved what he said about, if you want to be on a Game of Thrones style show, he's like, are you sending your stuff to Nina Gold? Are you know what I mean? Are you seeking out the casting directors and the directors and the showrunners and the people that make this kind of stuff and sending stuff to them or targeting them? Or that was really helpful for me. And it's an interesting topic, that getting very specific about your goals, because I think it really, really helps some people to be hyper specific, and it's limiting for other people. Just because, just speaking for myself. So, well, there's a certain amount you can be specific in this career, but as you know, it's like it takes a lot of twists and turns, and it's hard to, unless you're creating your own stuff, it's kind of hard to know, to dictate what's next.
Yeah.
That's a very tricky thing. I have found for myself, it's a kind of a combination of the two. If I get too specific about what I want, because of the way my brain works, it's incredibly visual. Like I can when I think of things, I sometimes get bogged down in the details of them, because I have a very visual brain and I can see all the parts, and then I start noticing issues and problems and trying to fix them.
Yeah, it gets burned into your brain.
Yeah, I just because I see it so clearly, I get lost in it. And I don't know if this is the case for a lot of people, but I, throughout my day, will get sort of not all the time, but a lot of the day, I will get like little clips of bits and pieces of my life in quite clear detail. It's like a show reel of my life just running, and it can be from
because I remember you mentioned this and it never made it into an episode. But
yeah,
explain this to me, because that's the first time I ever heard of this.
Really, and I didn't know if this was the case for people, but I will get like. Little,
well, we'll see. Comment to us at Actors Guy Podcast.
So sort of randomly, I will get little clips in my head of various different pieces of my life. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It could be from when I was 5 or 12, or it could be 3 months ago or whatever. But I'll get like little snapshots of my life, and they'll just come. It's like there's a little screen over here, and I look up at it every so often. There'll be like clips of my life just playing.
How many times do you see the same clip over and over again?
I mean, not often, but I can access different parts of my life visually very easily. You know what I mean? If I think about it, I can remember the details. It's not like I have a photographic memory. I don't. You know what I mean? I can't look at a page and memorize it. You know what I mean? Like that right away. I'm kind of got lost in this now. This is what I'm talking about with specificity. Yeah. With specificity, if I get too specific on what I want, I get caught up in the images. I have to lean into the emotion of it rather than a specific image of it sometimes.
I think my real question to you, because I know that you have a deep passion for acting, is do you even have a goal? Whether it's all, sketched out very loosely, or it's very, very, very defined.
Yeah. I do. I mean, I have several markers and goals that I have in my mind. But again, it's like the attachment to them, I have to be careful with. Like I can't get too attached to a specific outcome, but I do. I have a number of goals that, but then try and enjoy what I'm doing right now.
Obviously, you don't have to, I'm not pulling, you don't have to say any of these, but I think that's kind of like what I'm getting at is I don't.
Okay.
Like I don't, and that bothers me. It's like, it's bothering me more now after this kind of conversation, as far as, you want to eat, what do you want to eat? It's bothering, and this is kind of actually perfect that we circle around about this, because it took us 50 episodes and we look at our careers very differently. And this is kind of like a perfect example of that, because I have no goal and I'm jealous of you because I knew that you had a very clear, defined passion and desire for the acting career, but also I had a feeling you had goals, whether you defined them or not. You had a compass directing you, and I kind of didn't, and I just enjoyed the ride, and I was so much far on the other spectrum, and it did me well. And to be honest, I very much enjoy life, and I enjoyed this career so far.
Yeah.
But that's the stark difference between how we look at it, and there we go.
Yeah, and it's interesting in your case because you have worked a lot, and I wonder if in the past, if that lack of specificity has helped you in some ways, because there's less attachment to an outcome. It might have made you more free to just kind of go with whatever's coming. But if you've hit a point where you'd like to set some goals, well, give it a try and see see what it does for your day to day. Because really, whatever goals you have, you still have to live in now. You know what I mean? You still have to just deal with the moment you have. So I would suggest try it.
I think that's spot on, because, you know, regardless of where we, you know, we got into acting for a reason, right? It's whether you know, there's some reason why we all like wandered into acting. And for me, this idea of freedom and not having expectations, not having necessarily disappointments, not having anything to hold on to, but also being free to play in that, putting restrictions actually worried me. It would have worried, if I was going to define too many goals, it actually would have worried me that I would, you know, be too tight, be restricted, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I need to play around with those guidelines and boundaries too. So there you go. I agree with that.
I think there's a bit of trial and error to it. So, I mean, one thing you could do, you know, is like write some down or think about it in a way, and then see if that changes, see what that does to your experience of it. Like, there's no harm in trying anything. Like, there's nothing to lose, basically. Is what I'm saying with that. But yeah, I do have goals. But again, I have to be careful with the specificity of those goals, that it doesn't take me out of what I'm doing and I don't see the lack of them. Like, I don't want to live in the lack of, oh, I'll be happy when this, because that's not the point of them for me. It's a sort of an overarching destination that I trust I'll get to, but I have to really just enjoy the process. And I do. And one thing I was going to say on the visual stuff and the imagination is that it used to hinder me in the sense that when I would get an audition or a script or whatever, and I'd read this character, I would already have an image in my mind of what this person looked like. And it didn't look like me, because I would have an image of who I would cast in this. So it took a number of years for me to be like...
That hurted you.
Well, it does, because you're already thinking it's somebody else other than you. And it took me a while to sort of marry the idea, no, this is me. I just get to play this character, and I get to have this character. But this character looks like me because they have to look like me, because they are me. You know what I mean? You know, that visual thing, it can be a real asset, or it can be a bit of a hindrance in some ways, like, but it's overall I think it's a great asset now, but I had to learn how to use it, I'd say.
You know, we'd be wrong to not say anything that we were wrong about. And it's nice to follow up on this one topic. When we were talking about the casting directors watching tapes for 4 seconds, we did talk about this a good amount. We actually did 2 episodes on that. Because we had different feelings and we thought about it. And we actually did a follow episode on that. For those that don't remember, there was a viral clip about a casting director making a bold claim saying that she knows, she'll watch an actor's self-tape for 4 seconds. She'll know that's all she needs to know. She was very bold about it. She was almost laughing about it. It got clipped. It got blown up. And there's a lot of things about that that triggered a lot of actors, but it was also wrapped up into, it was a first episode of a podcast. They were talking off the cuff. It was great to get views and great to get some virality. I don't know if it was the virality that they wanted, but it brought up a larger question that happened in the acting community. Looking back on it, their job is not to watch every minute of our acting, and their job is also not to be our acting teacher. They are hired, ideally, hopefully on a good show, and they are hired and they're a good casting director. They are hired for their taste. They choose certain actors that might fit on this show. It's more the importance of your moment before, the character, genre. All of it needs to be crystal clear in the first however many seconds. They might give a note that was translated to them by the people on high, the producers or the creators. They might actually have great instincts, but that is not primarily their job. Is please direct us to a great performance. They can help. Hopefully that made any sense.
No, absolutely. It did make sense. And I think what I took from it as well, and I changed my mind on it too, I had a very emotional response to it. One, you're right. I don't know anyone else's job. It's none of my business how they do their job. It's also none of my business what happens afterwards. I can't control how somebody receives something at all. So all I can do is do my best and then just let it go. It was a great reminder to me to be so specific at the top and to nail that moment and not worry about, because I know that, like, and I've talked to other actors who do it, oh, this great moment towards the end of the tape, I really like the way I did that or said that. Like, they're probably not going to get there. You know what I mean? So it's a good reminder to me to do, like, to just be dropped in from the top and then also let it go.
All the actors that I know that are killers, I'm talking about killers, they loved the fact that was a talking point. They loved the fact that they already knew that off the top. And they loved the fact that this is the bar, and this is the bar that I try to crush every self-tape. And that was it. Yeah. I was like, this was an illuminating conversation. And you have, everyone talking about the details as far as, no, I'm a really nice casting director. I watch every 13 hours of self-tapes, and I watch and I'm not judging that, but you start to wonder, it's like, oh, okay, who's really telling the truth here? Important, constructive, practical thing that I can do is, this is really important. Crush the top of your tape, know exactly what you're doing, and you turn on the tape, and it's like, this is an actor who knows what they're doing. That's it. If you're on social media, if you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, imagine how many videos you're swiping by. Imagine how many photos of all your friends and all your family friends that you're swiping by. They come and go. You're passing by them in a blink. And how do you stop someone from scrolling past your video? It's the hook. It's the hook, something intriguing, a great photo, whatever, what have you. You have way less than 4 seconds to get them to stop scrolling. It's no different than, reading the first page of a book. You open up a book. All you have to do is read that first page. That might get you sucked in. If that first page doesn't work, then you're going to move on to the next thing.
I don't know about that with the book. I'm not just reading one page.
I don't know. I know that people don't read. Let's go back to the Instagram reference.
Yeah. I'm reading more than one page of a book. It's like, no, this is shite.
I want to attribute this to Steven Soderbergh. Steven Soderbergh says, I just need to watch the first scene of a movie, and I'll know if the director knows what he's doing.
Interesting.
I mean,
Soderbergh's obviously a very skilled
Soderbergh's
director.
A genius.
So, yeah.
I'm going to kind of lean towards what he thinks. It's an interesting thing to think about.
The last thing I'll say about that cast director 4-second thing is sentences like that generate buzz and go viral and create all this emotion. It does lack any context or nuance.
A soundbite.
But it definitely helped me clarify the bit that I can control and what's important. And a good reminder to hit it from the top. Like you say, first scene of a movie, first paragraph of something you read. Like, yeah, you want to be drawn in. You want to be entertained. You want to, as Brian Stepanek says, lean in. You want the audience to lean in. You know what I mean? So anyway, that was something that, I changed my mind on as well pretty quickly once we started to talk about it after my knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, and I mean that knee-jerk reaction, a lot of people are still feeling that way. So it's one of those things where, this is an ongoing, our industry is just ongoing, evolving what we deal with and how we interact with it. This idea of hidden gems, we managed to do that 50 episodes.
Some of mine were terrible.
What is your experience? Hidden gems was a fun thing that we thought that we'd do. It's a little treat. If you listen to the end of the episode, it's something from our life that we thought might be helpful, some little tidbit. It could even be a joke. It could be any little thing that might brighten up or help your day. And it's a little treat at the end of the episode. We call it Hidden Gems.
I have a mixed reaction to this because sometimes it's great because it forces you to look at your week and go, okay, what was cool about this week, or what did I, the hard part for me is like sometimes I'm like, there was nothing like different or new in the week. So
it doesn't have to be from that week. It's just it's hard to track it if you're not writing it down.
What's your hidden gem for this week? Maybe this will inspire me.
So I stumbled across, this was recommended by a friend on their social media. This is a video, very popular podcaster, creator. It's called The Diary of a CEO.
Oh, yeah.
He interviews, needless to say, obviously, he's huge, so you probably heard of him. But this one video that he did with a body language expert. Now, here's the thing. You can easily say, hey, how's your hidden gem? This guy that has 12 million, 11 million followers on YouTube. That's kind of like not the point, because in this sea of content, it's chances are you don't know what the video I'm going to talk about. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that someone suggested it and shared it, because I watched every minute of it and I thought it was incredible. He brings on a body language expert. She's been working with people for years and just put out a book. She's working on her second. Vanessa Van Edwards. Mm-hmm. She's the founder of Science of People, and she gives people science-backed skills to improve communication and leadership. She would call herself an introvert. She's ideally dealing with introverts and people who come to her classes, and she's teaching people about the science behind body language. Now, first off, actors need to watch this video. I mean, to talk about your base zero, they talk about, quote unquote, resting bitch face. Obviously, that's problematic. She used resting bothered face, just so you know. But little things like, what is your base zero? What are you giving off to the world? What are you giving off to your friends? How does that affect your world? What are some things, practical things that you can change that are backed by science that can make you more popular, help you build friends? This is not some result-oriented, you're trying to scam people. It's just, this is what I've been telling the world for my entire life, and I had no idea I was doing this. It's the way that I hold my hands in a Zoom meeting is indicating something, and it's bothering people. And they don't even know why. I just think it's practical advice to be like, oh, this is interesting. I can add this to my life. Anyway, it's a great video. Huge interview. We'll put the link in the description. But I feel like I'm a better person and more comfortable learning what I learned in that video.
Okay. So while you're improving your body language, I'll be practicing my Gen Z stare.
I don't know if they actually talk about the Gen Z stare, but they actually might have. So yeah.
This book. Did I talk about this before?
Oh, okay. This is new. Okay, cool. What is this?
Okay, so there's an Irish poet who passed away. His name is John O'Donoghue, and he is an absolutely incredible writer. One of his books that I return to a lot is called Benedictus, and it says it's a book of blessings. It's not religious or anything, but it's just a collection of poems for different situations in life. Like, for example, it's broken down into categories like thresholds. It's for your birthday, for the traveler, so there's all these poems for different parts of life, and they are just stunningly beautiful, and some are just heartbreaking, and some are really helpful and uplifting. He's really just an incredible writer, and I would recommend that to anybody. Through his poetic blessings, John O'Donoghue also ignites us in a greater understanding of our innate qualities, and perhaps for the first time we experience a true sense of belonging in this awful, troubled world. Drawing on the heritage of ancient Celtic thought and imagination, Benedictus is ultimately a sanctuary of peace and a gentle, illuminating gift of life on our path through this world. I actually couldn't recommend this more highly. He is phenomenal.
Nice.
So John O'Donoghue. He has another book called Anam Cara, which is great as well.
What year is this from?
What year is this from? 2007.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think
nice. And so this is obviously in I mean, it's in English, right?
Yes, it's in English, yeah.
It's derived
John O'Donoghue,
from
it's
language?
Celtic. He's a poet and author. He died in 2008, but he just like a native Irish speaker. He's described online as an Irish poet, author, priest, and Hegelian philosopher. But it's just a beautiful collection of poetry, and has really, like, I return to it a lot, and just to give context to certain situations and stuff. So, yeah, really beautiful.
Awesome. There you go. Look at that. Number 50. Number 50 hidden gem, everyone.
Yep, that was a good one.
Way to land the dismount.
Absolutely.
All right, there you go. Well, this is it. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll see you next week. We have some big guests coming up, so it's an exciting time. See you next time.
See you next time.